The Story of George Washington. Carver begins in the quiet edges of the American South, where mist settles softly over fields at dawn, and the world seems to breathe with a slow, steady rhythm. Long before he became a scientist, a teacher, or one of the most respected agricultural minds in history, he was a small, curious child surrounded by nature's gentle mysteries. And from the very beginning, the land itself spoke to him in a language of color, texture, and patient transformation. Carver was born into hardship, carried into the world at a moment when life was uncertain, and the future even more so. But even in these early years, he developed a calm, inward strength, a quiet resilience that grew as naturally as the plants he loved. He spent his earliest days wandering through woods and meadows, studying petals, leaves, and soil, as if they were pages in a book only he could read. Nature became his sanctuary, his teacher, and his first companion. As he grew, he discovered that the world of plants held secrets far deeper than beauty alone. He felt an unspoken connection to the earth, one built on observation, gratitude, and a desire to understand the life within every root and seed. While others saw ordinary farmland, Carver saw possibilities, ways to heal soil, to nourish communities, and to bring life back to places long forgotten by hope. His heart leaned toward compassion, and his mind toward discovery, even when he had little guidance, except the quiet lessons nature offered him. Carver's early journey was marked by solitude and the struggle to find a place where he belonged. Yet the gentleness of his spirit never wavered. Each challenge became another reason to learn, to understand, and to grow. He carried with him a belief that knowledge was something to be shared, not possessed, a gift that could help heal both land and people. And as he moved from town to town, seeking education wherever he could find it, the world slowly began to notice the quiet brilliance taking root within him. By the time Carver stepped into the halls of higher education, his curiosity had deepened into a calling. He approached science not as a rigid set of rules, but as a conversation with the natural world, one built on patience, attentiveness, and profound respect. His discoveries would eventually reshape the landscape of American agriculture, offering farmers a way to restore tired soil and build lives once thought impossible to rebuild. But long before the fame, the speeches, or the admiration, there was simply a young man walking fields at dawn, listening to the whisper of the wind through the crops, and learning. Tonight, we follow his journey gently, not in haste, not in noise, but in the same quiet rhythm he lived by. A story of resilience, compassion, and the healing power of knowledge. This is the calm, unfolding life of George Washington Carver. George Washington. Carver's earliest memories were shaped by the soft rhythms of rural Missouri, where the mornings began with birdsong and the gentle rustle of trees stirred by dawn. He grew up on the Moses Carver farm, a place marked by both hardship and quiet beauty. Though his beginnings were shadowed by the realities of slavery and loss, Carver's young mind drifted instinctively toward the small wonders around him. Even as a child, he found comfort in the delicate colors of wildflowers and the soft textures of leaves he gathered from the woods. The natural world became his refuge during moments of uncertainty. He wandered fields and forests with a sense of stillness, gathering stones, seeds, and petals to study them closely. These collections were not possessions to him, but mysteries waiting to be understood. He asked gentle questions of everything he found. Why a leaf bent a certain way, why a flower bloomed only once, why soil felt rich in one place and barren in another. Nature became his first teacher, offering lessons in patience and humility. Carver's fascination with plants grew into a quiet longing to heal the land around him. He watched how certain crops drained the soil while others seemed to restore it. Even before he had access to formal education, he sensed that every piece of the environment worked together like threads in a tapestry. This early insight guided him toward a lifelong belief that the earth held answers to many of humanity's struggles. To Carver, the soil was alive, capable of renewal, capable of hope. His curiosity extended beyond plants to the simple rhythms of daily life on the farm. He observed animals with the same gentle attention he gave to the woods, noticing how they moved, responded, and cared for their young. Though he did not yet understand scientific terms, he recognized patterns that shaped the natural world. These observations grounded him, offering stability in a world still recovering from the aftermath of slavery. The cycles of nature provided a quiet consistency that human life often lacked. As he grew, Carver began helping with tasks around the farm, though his delicate health limited what he could physically endure. Instead of handling heavy labor, he was encouraged to continue exploring the woods and meadows. This freedom allowed his curiosity to expand without restraint. He collected plants to study under windowsill light, examining their structure with a patience far beyond his years. Moses and Susan Carver, recognizing his gentle nature, supported his desire to learn even when resources were scarce. Carver soon gained a reputation in the local area for his ability to treat sick plants. Neighbors began calling him the plant doctor, bringing him wilted flowers and damaged crops to examine. He approached each one with calm attentiveness, observing details others overlooked. Sometimes he nursed them back to life with simple remedies drawn from the land itself: better soil, more shade, gentler watering. This small kindness connected him more deeply to the community and reinforced his belief that knowledge was a gift, meant to be shared. Despite his growing skill, Carver's path to education was far from straightforward. Opportunities for black children remained limited, and he often had to leave home to find even the most basic schooling. Yet he moved through these challenges with remarkable quiet resilience. Each obstacle became another reason to learn more, to understand more deeply, and to find new ways to grow. He carried with him a belief that knowledge had the power to lift not only himself, but entire communities. Eventually, Carver left the Carver farm to pursue formal schooling in the nearby town of Neosho. He walked alone, carrying little more than determination and the collections of natural treasures that reminded him of home. When he arrived, he found shelter with a kind family and enrolled in a small schoolhouse. The lessons were simple, yet they opened new paths in his mind. Carver studied reading, writing, and arithmetic with the same gentle diligence he applied to nature. Life in Neosho brought independence, but also new challenges. Carver often struggled to afford necessities, finding odd jobs to support himself. Still, his spirit remained steady. He continued exploring the fields and wooded areas around town, studying plants whenever he could. The soft glow of early morning and the quiet calm of evening walks became moments of reflection and renewal. Carver's connection to nature remained his anchor, guiding him through uncertainty. By the time Carver completed his early schooling, he had formed a quiet but unshakable belief in his purpose. He understood that his curiosity for the natural world was not simply a childhood fascination, but a calling. The seeds of his future, literally and figuratively, had already taken root. With gentle determination, he prepared to continue his journey toward deeper knowledge, trusting that each step forward would reveal new truths about the world and his place within it. Carver's time in Neosho marked the beginning of his journey toward self-reliance. Though he was only a young boy, he learned to cook, sew, and manage daily tasks with quiet competence. These responsibilities shaped him gently, teaching him discipline without hard edges. Even in difficult moments, he moved through life with a calm steadiness that impressed those around him. His teachers saw a boy who listened more than he spoke, but whose silence held a quiet determination. As he continued his studies, Carver's natural curiosity only grew stronger. He filled his spare hours with sketching plants, examining insects, and studying rocks he found on walks through the countryside. The world around him felt like an open classroom, and he absorbed its lessons with patient attention. Whenever he discovered something new, a flowering vine, a rare leaf pattern, he wrote notes in a small journal. These early records were the beginnings of a lifelong habit of observing the world with tenderness and precision. Despite his talents, Carver knew he needed more education than the small school in Neosho could provide. He felt a gentle pull to continue moving forward, to reach farther than what was immediately available. With this quiet resolve, he left Neosho and began traveling from town to town in search of better opportunities. He supported himself through laundry work, odd jobs, and the kindness of those who recognized his desire to learn. Each move required bravery, yet Carver carried himself with calm confidence, trusting the path ahead. Carver eventually made his way to Fort Scott, Kansas, a larger town with more educational possibilities. There, he enrolled in school and continued expanding his knowledge. Life in Kansas brought new experiences and challenges, yet Carver approached them with the same gentle resilience he had developed in Missouri. His classmates noticed his artistic talent, his polite manner, and the quiet way he observed everything around him. Even when faced with prejudice, Carver responded not with anger but with dignity and patience. And during his time in Kansas, Carver's love for art blossomed. He sketched landscapes, plants, and portraits with a level of detail that revealed both skill and empathy. His drawings captured not just shapes, but the soft emotion within every subject. Art became a second language for him, one that expressed his connection to the natural world in ways words could not. Teachers encouraged him to pursue this talent, recognizing a rare blend of creativity and sensitivity in his work. Yet, despite his progress, Carver's search for a place where he truly belonged continued. Violence and racial tensions in Fort Scott forced him to leave, prompting him to travel once again in pursuit of safety and education. These disruptions could have discouraged him, but Carver moved forward with the same quiet strength that had carried him since childhood. Each new beginning brought another opportunity to learn, grow, and deepen his understanding of the world. In the years that followed, Carver lived in several towns, Melrose, Minneapolis, and Olathe, each providing small steps toward his dream of higher learning. He took on any work he could find, from laundry to cooking, always saving whatever he could to support his studies. Through every transition, nature remained his companion. He continued collecting plant specimens, studying the soil, and sketching leaves in the margins of his notebooks. These quiet practices grounded him and reminded him of the direction his life was meant to take. Carver eventually settled in the town of Winterset, Iowa, where he completed high school. It was here that he found a community that genuinely encouraged him. Neighbors admired his gentle demeanor and willingness to help others. Teachers recognized his brilliance and urged him to continue his education. Carver blossomed in this supportive environment, feeling for the first time that he could grow roots without fear of being uprooted again. Winterset became a peaceful chapter in his early life. During this time, Carver's artistic reputation continued to spread. His paintings were displayed in local exhibitions where people admired the lifelike detail and quiet emotion captured in his work. These successes gave him confidence, yet he remained humble. He understood that his path extended beyond art alone. Nature still called to him, inviting him to explore deeper mysteries, why soil changed, how plants healed, and how communities could nourish themselves through the land. By the end of this stage in his journey, Carver had developed the qualities that would define his life: patience, resilience, humility, and a profound connection with nature. He knew he was ready for the next step, the pursuit of a higher education that had once felt out of reach. With calm determination, he prepared to step into a new chapter, trusting that the same quiet guidance that had shaped his childhood would continue to lead him forward. Carver's decision to pursue higher education was shaped by years of gentle persistence. He knew that knowledge would allow him to help not only himself, but the countless farmers and families who depended on the land. This understanding guided him toward Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa, a small institution that welcomed his artistic talent with open arms. He arrived with little more than determination, yet he carried with him a world of curiosity. The college environment offered new resources, new mentors, and a sense of possibility he had long imagined but never experienced fully. At Simpson, Carver enrolled primarily as an art student. His sketches of plants, landscapes, and still-life compositions impressed teachers almost immediately. In each drawing, he expressed both technical skill and the tenderness with which he viewed the world. His art instructor, Etta Budd, was deeply moved by his attention to detail and his ability to capture life through gentle observation. She recognized not only his talent, but the deeper connection he held with nature, a connection she believed could flourish even further in the field of agricultural science. It was Miss Budd who encouraged Carver to consider studying botany more seriously. She sensed that his love for plants extended far beyond the canvas and saw potential for him to make meaningful contributions in the broader scientific world. Carver listened to her guidance with thoughtful openness. He had always felt drawn to plants, but had never imagined that this calling could lead to a formal profession. Her suggestion planted a seed in his mind, one that would grow into a lifelong pursuit. With her encouragement, Carver applied to Iowa State Agricultural College in Ames, a respected institution known for its strong agricultural programs. His acceptance into the school marked a turning point in his life. For the first time, he would study science formally, surrounded by laboratories, libraries, and teachers who could nurture his interests. The transition filled him with both excitement and a quiet sense of purpose. He knew that he was entering a new chapter, one that would require discipline, patience, and steady effort. Upon arriving at Iowa State, Carver was welcomed with kindness. Professors and students alike respected him for his humility and eagerness to learn. He spent his days attending lectures, exploring the greenhouse, and participating in hands-on experiments that deepened his understanding of the natural world. Carver approached each lesson with calm attentiveness, absorbing knowledge as if he had been waiting for these opportunities his entire life. His professors quickly recognized his potential and supported him wholeheartedly. Carver thrived in the laboratory environment. He examined soil samples, studied plant growth, and learned about the delicate balance required for crops to flourish. Each experiment fueled his curiosity, reinforcing his belief that the earth held countless undiscovered secrets. His gentle approach to science reflected the same care he had shown as a child wandering through the woods. While others focused solely on results, Carver focused on understanding. This patience allowed him to notice patterns others often overlooked. His dedication extended beyond the classroom. Carver became known for helping classmates who struggled with certain concepts, offering explanations in a calm and encouraging manner. He believed that knowledge gained should always be shared, never hoarded. This philosophy shaped his interactions with peers and earned him deep respect. Many students sought his guidance not just for academic help, but for the comfort of his quiet, steady presence. Carver's kindness became as influential as his academic ability. Outside of academic life, Carver continued to nurture his connection with nature. He took long walks through the fields surrounding the college, collecting plants to study in greater detail. These excursions provided him with a sense of peace and clarity after long days of coursework. Each new plant specimen felt like a familiar companion, offering insight into the earth's rhythms. His personal collection grew into a vast assortment of leaves, roots, and flowers, each piece carefully labeled and stored with reverence. His professors soon recognized the depth of his knowledge and encouraged him to pursue research projects. Carver approached each assignment with gentle determination, often staying late in the laboratory to observe changes in plant growth or soil structure. He documented his findings thoughtfully, combining scientific precision with the artistic sensibility that had shaped his youth. This blend of skills made his research stand out. It was both analytical and intuitive, reflecting a mind that understood nature not only scientifically, but emotionally. By the end of this stage, Carver had firmly established himself as one of the most promising students at Iowa State. His work displayed a quiet brilliance, grounded in patience, and shaped by years of observing the natural world. He felt grateful for the opportunities before him, recognizing that each moment brought him closer to fulfilling his purpose. And though he had much still to learn, Carver carried with him the gentle certainty that he was exactly where he needed to be. Carver's passion for learning deepened as he became more comfortable at Iowa State. The campus offered him a sense of belonging that he had rarely felt before. Surrounded by classmates who shared his curiosity, he found joy in discussing ideas, experimenting with new methods, and exploring the subtle complexities of plants. Every day brought opportunities to observe something new, a shift in soil texture, a small change in a leaf's color, or the quiet evolution of a growing seed. These simple discoveries filled him with peaceful satisfaction. His professors soon began assigning him advanced tasks usually reserved for more experienced students. They trusted his careful approach and recognized his ability to identify solutions with gentle precision. Carver never rushed the process. Instead, he examined each problem slowly, allowing the truth to reveal itself naturally. This patience set him apart. While others hurried through experiments, Carver moved through each step with respect for the delicate systems he studied. His methods reflected an understanding that meaningful insight required time. As he gained more responsibility, Carver started managing greenhouse projects, tending to rows of plants that depended on his attentiveness. The greenhouse became a second home to him. Its humid air, soft lighting, and quiet atmosphere offered a peaceful space for reflection. Each plant became a small companion in his journey, teaching him about resilience, fragility, and the intricate relationship between life and its environment. Through these daily interactions, Carver grew into a scientist who felt deeply connected to his work. During this time, he also developed a strong interest in soil science. He noticed that healthy plants began with healthy earth, and he wanted to understand what made soil fertile or depleted. He studied its texture, color, and smell with the same care a painter gives to a canvas. Carver realized that soil carried the memory of everything that had happened upon it, weather, crops, and the gentle cycles of decay. This realization shaped his belief that land could be healed through thoughtful practices, a philosophy that would later define his greatest contributions. His quiet dedication drew the attention of the college administration, who admired both his brilliance and his character. Carver was appointed as a student assistant, a rare honor for someone still in undergraduate studies. In this role, he tutored students, prepared classroom materials, and supported faculty research. With each responsibility, he continued to carry himself with humility. He saw teaching not as a task, but as an opportunity to share the wonder he felt for the natural world. Carver's personal life at Iowa State was marked by simple routines that brought him comfort. He rose early to walk across the dew-covered fields, letting the cool morning air calm his mind before lectures. In the evenings, he sketched plants he had collected during the day or wrote reflections in his notebook. These quiet rituals kept him grounded, reminding him of the path he had traveled and the dreams that guided him forward. Despite the challenges he had faced, he never lost his gentle sense of gratitude. His reputation continued to grow beyond the classroom. Students admired his kindness, seeking him out not only for academic support, but for the calming presence he offered. Carver had a way of listening that made people feel seen. His empathy flowed naturally, shaped by years of personal hardship and a deep respect for the struggles of others. This ability to connect made him a valued member of the campus community, reinforcing his belief that knowledge should nurture both the mind and the spirit. Carver's growing success led him to consider graduate studies, an idea that had once felt impossible. His professors encouraged him to pursue this path, assuring him that he had the talent and patience required for advanced research. Carver listened with quiet hope. He had always felt that his purpose extended beyond personal achievement. Graduate studies represented a chance to deepen his understanding of nature and, in time, to help communities that struggled with depleted soil and failing harvests. Toward the end of his undergraduate years, Carver began focusing on the broader questions that would shape his future work. How could farming become more sustainable? What caused soil to lose its vitality? How could communities rebuild their land after years of neglect? These questions lingered softly in his mind, guiding his research interests. He sensed that the answers lay not in forceful experimentation, but in careful observation, listening to the land just as he had listened to nature as a child. By the time Carver completed his undergraduate degree, he was no longer simply a student fascinated by plants. He had become a thoughtful young scientist with a deep purpose. His journey from the fields of Missouri to the laboratories of Iowa State had forged a gentle yet resilient spirit. Carver knew the road ahead would demand hard work, patience, and compassion. But as he prepared to continue into graduate study, he felt a calm certainty that he was moving toward the work he was meant to do. Carver's transition into graduate studies marked a natural continuation of the path he had been quietly building since childhood. Iowa State welcomed him into its advanced program with full confidence in his ability to contribute meaningful research. The laboratories felt familiar now, like an extension of the fields and forests he had always loved. Surrounded by equipment, soil samples, and plant specimens, Carver approached each day with patience and purpose. He felt grateful for the opportunity to deepen his understanding of nature in a structured, supportive environment. Graduate research allowed Carver to explore questions that had lingered in his mind for years. He focused on plant diseases, soil composition, and the delicate balance that sustained healthy crops. His experiments became more complex, yet he approached them with the same gentle curiosity that guided his early observations. He studied roots, stems, and leaves under magnification, noting subtle differences that revealed larger truths. Every discovery, no matter how small, carried meaning. He believed that nature whispered its secrets quietly, and he listened with care. His professors often remarked on his meticulous work habits. Carver documented every observation with precision, recording details others might overlook. He tested hypotheses with patience, revisiting experiments repeatedly until he understood the underlying patterns. The clarity of his thinking shone through in his reports and presentations, earning him respect across the department. Yet he remained humble. Carver saw himself not as a rising academic star, but as a student of the earth, always learning, always refining, always listening. One of Carver's most notable projects during this time involved studying fungal infections that affected crops across the Midwest. He analyzed samples collected from farms, searching for causes behind widespread blight and decay. His findings highlighted the importance of crop rotation, soil health, and early detection of disease. These insights carried practical value for struggling communities. Carver felt encouraged knowing that his research could one day help farmers protect their livelihoods. This potential fueled his determination to continue working tirelessly. In addition to his research responsibilities, Carver's role as a student assistant grew. He mentored younger students, guided laboratory sessions, and helped organize plant collections. His gentle teaching style made him a favorite among undergraduates. He offered explanations slowly and clearly, ensuring each student felt supported. For Carver, teaching was an act of service, an opportunity to share the wonder he felt for science. His compassion became inseparable from his academic identity, shaping every interaction he had on campus. Outside the laboratory, Carver remained deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. He spent weekends walking along wooded trails, collecting flowers and roots to study later. These excursions provided balance, allowing him to relax after long hours of research. The quiet spaces of Iowa refreshed his mind and reminded him that science was not confined to classrooms or equipment. The world itself was a living laboratory, full of gentle lessons he continued to absorb. Carver felt most at peace when surrounded by the soft sounds of wind and leaves. His artistic talent also continued to flourish. Carver sketched plant structures with remarkable accuracy, capturing details that complemented his scientific work. These drawings enhanced his research papers and impressed faculty members with their clarity. Art remained a central part of his identity, offering him a way to express the emotional beauty he saw in the natural world. Each sketch blended science and creativity, forming a bridge between two parts of himself that had always coexisted harmoniously. As Carver advanced through the graduate program, he developed stronger relationships with faculty who admired both his intellect and his character. They frequently sought his input on research questions, valuing his unique perspective and thoughtful analysis. Carver's insights often stemmed from observations he had made long before entering academia. His childhood explorations had given him an intuitive understanding of natural patterns, which now enriched his scientific contributions. This blend of intuition and study set him apart. His work also began attracting the attention of agricultural leaders beyond campus. Reports of his research circulated through regional farming communities, and farmers expressed interest in his findings. Carver felt deeply moved by this. Helping communities, especially those with limited resources, had always been one of his quiet dreams. As he continued refining his studies, he imagined ways to use his knowledge to improve the lives of those who depended on the land. This vision would soon lead him to his life's most influential work. By the time Carver neared completion of his graduate studies, he had established himself as a careful thinker, a patient observer, and a compassionate teacher. The foundation for his future was firmly set. He carried within him not only a wealth of scientific understanding, but a sense of purpose anchored in service. And as he prepared to take the next step, he felt the same calm certainty that had guided him since childhood, that the natural world still had many secrets to share, and that he was meant to help reveal them. As Carver continued his graduate work, he began focusing more deeply on the idea that soil was not simply a resource, but a living system. He treated each sample with gentle respect, sensing the hidden stories held within its grains. In the laboratory, he compared soils from different farms, studying how nutrients shifted over time. These experiments revealed patterns that connected directly to the struggles many farmers faced. Carver realized that understanding soil health could unlock solutions far more powerful than temporary fixes. His dedication to soil science soon led him to experiment with methods of restoration. Carver explored ways to replenish exhausted land using natural practices rather than harsh chemicals. He noticed how certain plants, such as legumes, could revive depleted fields by adding nitrogen back into the soil. This discovery resonated with him deeply. It echoed the rhythms of nature he had observed since childhood, where each organism played a role in maintaining balance. Carver approached these studies like quiet conversations with the earth itself, During this period, Carver's reputation within the university grew steadily. Faculty members admired his calm persistence and his ability to draw meaningful insight from even the smallest details. They often discussed his future, believing he had the potential to reshape agricultural science. Carver accepted their encouragement with humility. He viewed himself not as someone destined for greatness, but as a student grateful to be learning. His modesty made him even more respected, strengthening the quiet admiration he inspired across campus. Carver's graduate mentor, Professor Lewis Pamel, became one of the most influential figures in his academic life. Pamel recognized Carver's extraordinary intuition and encouraged him to pursue challenging research opportunities. Their relationship formed a gentle collaboration built on trust and mutual respect. Under Pamel's guidance, Carver developed a deeper understanding of plant pathology and the interconnectedness of ecosystems. These lessons shaped not only his scientific approach, but his philosophy of life. Outside of research, Carver continued immersing himself in the natural beauty of Iowa. He tended to small garden plots, observing how plants responded to different soil conditions. These hands-on studies provided clarity that complemented his laboratory work. In the quiet evenings, he walked the grounds in thoughtful reflection, finding comfort in the harmony of growing things. Nature remained both his teacher and his sanctuary, offering peace when academic pressures felt heavy. Carver's work ethic became legendary among faculty and students. He often stayed late in the laboratories, carefully recording observations long after others had gone home. His notebooks filled with sketches, measurements, and reflections that captured the subtle behavior of plants and soil. This careful documentation helped him identify trends that others missed. Carver believed that no detail was too small, and that each piece of information could contribute to a greater understanding of the natural world. Toward the end of his graduate program, Carver was offered a rare opportunity, a faculty position at Iowa State. The offer came with genuine admiration from the administration, who saw in him a scholar capable of inspiring the next generation of scientists. Carver accepted with quiet gratitude. Teaching allowed him to combine his love of science with his desire to serve others. He approached his new role with the same gentle dedication that had guided every step of his journey. As an instructor, Carver encouraged students to observe nature with patience and respect. He taught them that answers often revealed themselves slowly, and that attention to subtlety was essential for meaningful discovery. His students appreciated his calm presence and the clarity he brought to complex topics. Under his guidance, many developed a deeper appreciation for the natural world. Carver found joy in these moments of shared understanding, knowing he was helping others see the beauty he had always felt. During this time, Carver continued developing experiments focused on agricultural improvement. He began considering not only scientific questions, but social ones as well. He thought about the farmers across the South who struggled with depleted land and limited resources. These communities reminded him of the challenges he had known in his own childhood. Carver felt a gentle urgency to use his knowledge in a way that could help them rebuild their futures. This purpose stirred quietly within him, growing stronger with each passing day. By the end of his graduate experience, Carver had become more than a scholar. He had become a thoughtful observer, a compassionate teacher, and a scientist with a growing vision for change. His connection to nature, his reverence for the land, and his belief in the healing power of knowledge shaped the path before him. And though he could not yet foresee it, this path would soon lead him to the place where his life's work would truly begin, Tuskegee Institute, where his gentle wisdom would uplift an entire generation. Carver's life shifted profoundly when he received a letter from Booker T. Washington, founder of the newly established Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Washington wrote with a tone of respect and hope, inviting Carver to join the school as its first head of agriculture. He believed Carver's knowledge would help uplift black farming communities across the South, many of whom struggled with poor soil and limited resources. Carver read the letter quietly, sensing that this invitation carried a deeper purpose than simple employment. The decision weighed heavily on Carver's heart. He had built a peaceful life at Iowa State, surrounded by supportive colleagues and students who valued his presence. Yet he felt a gentle pull toward Washington's mission. Carver understood the profound need in the South: land exhausted by cotton, families struggling to survive, and communities desperate for guidance. His own childhood experiences made this calling deeply personal. He sensed that the work waiting for him at Tuskegee aligned with the purpose that had been growing within him for years. After thoughtful reflection, Carver accepted the offer. He believed his knowledge of soil, plants, and sustainable farming could bring hope to people who had long been denied opportunity. Leaving Iowa required courage, yet Carver moved forward with a calm resolve. He packed his notebooks, plant specimens, and sketches, carrying with him not just academic tools, but the quiet belief that nature could help heal both land and lives. With this conviction, he began his journey south. Carver's arrival at Tuskegee was met with warmth and anticipation. Students watched curiously as the soft-spoken scientist stepped onto the campus, bringing with him a gentleness that contrasted with the harsh realities many of them had known. The school itself was still developing. Buildings stood unfinished, resources were limited, and classrooms lacked basic supplies. Yet the atmosphere was filled with determination. Carver sensed immediately that this was a place ready to grow, much like the tired soil he hoped to revive. Tuskegee presented challenges unlike anything Carver had encountered before. The farmland designated for his department was severely depleted, hardened by years of endless cotton crops. Tools were scarce, greenhouses were non-existent, and funding was limited. But Carver faced these obstacles with calm optimism. He believed that nature already held the solutions he needed. By studying the land closely and working patiently, he trusted he could uncover methods to restore its strength. His confidence stemmed not from arrogance, but from a lifetime of listening to the earth. His first task was to build the agricultural department almost entirely from the ground up. Carver began by constructing simple workspaces, gathering seeds, and organizing the modest tools available. He introduced students to the basics of soil health, teaching them how to observe color, texture, and moisture. These lessons felt familiar to Carver, echoes of the quiet explorations of his childhood. His voice remained soft, but his enthusiasm was unmistakable. Students soon realized they were learning from someone who saw the land not as a burden, but as a living partner. Carver encouraged his students to approach agriculture with curiosity rather than obligation. He taught them to value observation, patience, and respect for every plant they tended. Many were surprised to discover how responsive the soil became when treated gently. Carver guided them through simple experiments, showing how compost enriched the earth, how legumes replenished nutrients, and how crop rotation revived fields once thought barren. These small successes sparked hope across the campus, proving that improvement was not only possible, but within reach. As Carver settled into life at Tuskegee, he began taking long walks around the surrounding countryside. He wanted to understand the land not just academically, but emotionally, to feel its history and hear its quiet stories. He observed abandoned farms, eroded fields, and communities striving to survive. These scenes stirred a deep empathy within him. Carver knew he was not simply teaching science. He was helping mend a landscape shaped by hardship, guiding people toward self-sufficiency and dignity through the healing power of the soil. By the end of his first months, Carver had already transformed the atmosphere of Tuskegee's agricultural department. Students who once doubted their future now felt inspired by the possibilities unfolding beneath their hands. Carver worked tirelessly, often rising before sunrise to prepare lessons or study plant specimens. His dedication created a sense of calm determination across the campus. Though the challenges ahead remained immense, Carver felt certain he had arrived exactly where he was meant to be, ready to nurture both the land and the people who depended on it. Carver soon realized that restoring Tuskegee's land required more than classroom lessons. It demanded hands-on transformation. He led students into the fields each morning, encouraging them to feel the soil between their fingers, study its texture, and understand its needs. Together they cleared debris, built compost piles, and planted nitrogen-fixing crops. The work was slow but deeply meaningful. Day by day, the land began to soften, showing faint signs of renewal. These small changes brought a quiet hope that spread across the campus. Word of Carver's methods began to reach nearby communities. Farmers from across the region visited Tuskegee, seeking advice on how to revive their own depleted fields. Carver welcomed them warmly, offering guidance with humility and compassion. He explained principles of soil health in simple, accessible language, always emphasizing patience and respect for nature's rhythms. Many farmers left feeling encouraged for the first time in years. They saw possibilities where they had once only seen decline. Carver understood that education needed to extend beyond the walls of Tuskegee. He developed outreach programs that allowed him to visit rural communities directly, often traveling long distances by wagon or foot. He carried seeds, tools, and samples of healthy soil to demonstrate practical techniques. These trips became known for their atmosphere of calm encouragement. Carver never spoke down to farmers. Instead, he spoke with them, offering gentle suggestions rather than commands. His sincerity earned him deep trust. To support these outreach efforts, Carver helped create the Jessup Wagon, a mobile classroom funded by philanthropist Morris Jessup. The wagon carried scientific tools, plants, and educational materials into rural areas, allowing Carver to teach more effectively. He demonstrated how to rotate crops, conserve nutrients, and diversify harvests with peanuts, sweet potatoes, and other restorative plants. The Jessup Wagon became a symbol of hope, representing a new era of sustainable agriculture for communities long burdened by poor soil. Throughout this time, Carver continued experimenting with new ways to help families become more self-sufficient. He developed simple recipes, household products, and soil treatments using ingredients readily available on farms. Carver believed that science should serve everyday needs, not only academic interests. His bulletins, written in warm, encouraging language, offered practical instructions that improved daily life. These publications became widely distributed, reaching households far beyond Alabama. Carver's gentle leadership also inspired students to take pride in their education. He reminded them that learning was a lifelong journey, not a race. He encouraged them to approach each task with curiosity and gratitude, believing that a humble heart strengthened the mind. Many students found renewed purpose through his teachings. They saw agriculture not as a laborious burden, but as a science capable of transforming communities and restoring dignity to those who worked the land. Despite the progress he was making, Carver faced ongoing challenges. Funding remained limited, and resources were often stretched thin. Yet Carver's resilience never faltered. He adapted creatively, reusing materials, crafting his own tools, and building makeshift equipment from scraps. His ingenuity impressed everyone around him. Carver believed strongly that limitations could become opportunities when approached with patience and imagination. This mindset helped him lead the department through difficult periods with calm determination. Carver also strengthened his relationships with other faculty members. Though their disciplines varied, many admired his dedication and gentle manner. He collaborated with them to develop programs that addressed broader community needs, including nutrition, home economics, and rural hygiene. Carver approached these efforts with quiet enthusiasm, understanding that improving a community required more than agricultural knowledge alone. His holistic view of education resonated across Tuskegee, reinforcing its mission of empowerment. Over time, Carver's presence became a cornerstone of the Institute. Students often visited him outside class, seeking guidance not only on coursework but on personal struggles. Carver listened with warmth, offering thoughtful advice rooted in compassion and faith. He never rushed these conversations. His calm demeanor helped students feel seen and valued. Many later credited Carver for giving them the confidence to pursue their dreams, both within and beyond agriculture. By the end of this chapter, Tuskegee had begun its transformation. The barren fields were slowly returning to life. Communities were adopting sustainable practices, and the soft, steady influence of George Washington Carver had woven itself into the spirit of the campus. He had come to Alabama to heal the land, but in doing so, he also nurtured the hearts of the people who depended on it. Carver sensed that his work had only just begun. As Carver's work at Tuskegee expanded, he turned his attention to one of the South's most pressing problems, the exhausting dominance of cotton. For decades, cotton had been planted repeatedly on the same fields, draining the soil of essential nutrients and leaving farms barren. Carver saw this not as a hopeless crisis, but as an opportunity for renewal. He believed the land could be healed through thoughtful rotation, gentle care, and the introduction of crops that restored rather than depleted. This vision guided the next phase of his work. Carver introduced farmers to the idea of planting legumes, especially peanuts, cowpeas, and soybeans, to rebuild soil health. These crops enriched the land naturally, returning nitrogen to fields long stripped of vitality. Carver taught students and farmers how to tend these plants, demonstrating their resilience and nutritional value. Many were skeptical at first, uncertain whether such simple changes could revive their exhausted farms. But Carver remained patient, knowing that nature responded slowly to kindness. His calm confidence reassured those he guided. To support this shift, Carver developed a series of clear, accessible bulletins explaining the benefits of crop rotation. Each bulletin was written with warmth and practicality, offering steps for improving soil, storing harvests, and integrating new crops into daily life. Carver's writing reflected his gentle teaching style, encouraging rather than instructive, hopeful rather than demanding. These publications quickly spread across the South, becoming essential resources for families seeking stability and nourishment. The increase in legume planting created new opportunities that Carver felt compelled to explore. He began experimenting with ways to transform peanuts and sweet potatoes into useful products. His laboratory filled with jars, samples, and tools as he worked late into the night, searching for possibilities that could improve lives. Carver believed that no crop should be wasted. Every plant, he insisted, held potential. He approached these experiments with the same curiosity that had guided him since childhood, allowing discovery to unfold gently and naturally. Carver's experiments led to the creation of countless new products derived from humble crops. From peanuts, he developed oils, dyes, soaps, and even simple medicinal applications. From sweet potatoes, he created flour, pastes, and staining agents. These innovations demonstrated that alternative crops could support both soil health and economic stability. Carver's devotion to practical science helped Southern communities envision a future no longer tied to the destructive cycle of cotton. He offered them not just solutions, but hope. As his work gained recognition, Carver was invited to speak at agricultural conferences. Though he preferred the quiet of his laboratory and the fields, he accepted these invitations with humility. On stage, he spoke softly and slowly, drawing listeners in with his sincerity rather than volume. Many audience members found themselves deeply moved. Carver spoke of the land as if it were alive, describing its needs and its healing in ways that felt almost spiritual. His words encouraged farmers to see themselves as caretakers rather than exploiters. Despite his growing influence, Carver remained devoted to the students at Tuskegee. He continued teaching with patience and compassion, guiding them through both scientific concepts and life's challenges. He believed education should strengthen character as much as intellect. Carver often shared lessons about humility, perseverance, and gratitude, reminding his students that true success came from service to others. His classroom became a place of inspiration where young minds learned to see the world with curiosity and kindness. Outside of formal teaching, Carver spent long hours walking the fields and woods surrounding the Institute. He collected plants, observed insects, and studied the subtle cycles of growth. These walks renewed his spirit and provided clarity for his work. To Carver, nature's quiet rhythms offered lessons that could not be found in textbooks. He often encouraged students to join him, knowing that their connection to the land would deepen through direct experience. These gentle excursions became treasured moments in their education. Carver's message of renewal spread slowly but steadily throughout the South. Families began planting peanuts, sweet potatoes, and other restorative crops, witnessing firsthand the transformation of their land. Many wrote to Carver, grateful for the guidance that brought life back to their farms. Their letters reaffirmed his belief that knowledge, shared with humility and compassion, could change entire communities. Carver read each message carefully, feeling a deep sense of purpose in every word. By the end of this period, Carver had laid a strong foundation for agricultural revival across the region. The soil was healing, farmers were discovering new hope. And Carver, quietly working from his small laboratory at Tuskegee, had begun shaping a movement that would transform the future of Southern agriculture. Yet he knew there was still much to learn, much to teach, and many lives yet to touch. His journey was far from finished. Carver's commitment to helping Southern farmers deepened as he continued studying the potential of alternative crops. He believed the South could rebuild its economy through diversity rather than dependence. Peanuts, sweet potatoes, pecans, cowpeas, each held possibilities that had yet to be explored fully. In Carver's mind, these crops were more than plants. They were tools for renewal. He saw them as gifts from the earth, capable of restoring both soil fertility and financial stability. His work became a bridge between science and everyday life. To further assist communities, Carver expanded his research into household goods derived from local crops. He created simple products families could use or sell, including soaps, lotions, glues, and dyes. These inventions were not meant to spark industry on a grand scale, but to empower people with practical, accessible solutions. Carver believed that scientific knowledge had true value only when it improved daily living. His laboratory became a place where science met compassion, each discovery shaped by his desire to help others. With each new experiment, Carver introduced a fresh wave of educational bulletins. These pamphlets detailed gardening techniques, nutritional advice, food preparation methods, and instructions for making basic products at home. He wrote them with warmth, ensuring even the most inexperienced farmers could follow along. Carver understood the challenges families faced: poverty, limited supplies, and exhausted land. His bulletins offered simple steps to bring nourishment and stability back into their lives. These writings became trusted guides throughout the South. As interest in his work grew, Carver began receiving invitations to speak before larger audiences. Churches, community groups, and agricultural associations all sought his gentle wisdom. Though he remained a quiet man at heart, he accepted each invitation with gratitude. On stage, he delivered his teachings in the same patient tone he used in the classroom. He explained the science behind soil and crops in a way that felt familiar and reassuring. Audiences left his lectures feeling uplifted, inspired by the possibility of renewal. Carver also collaborated closely with Booker T. Washington during these years. Washington admired Carver's calm dedication and the trust he inspired in students and farmers alike. Together they worked to strengthen Tuskegee's role as a center for practical education. Washington often encouraged Carver to reach even farther, believing his ideas had the power to uplift entire communities. Carver responded with humility, focusing quietly on the work rather than the recognition. Their shared vision helped transform Tuskegee into a beacon of hope. One of Carver's most innovative ideas during this period was his push for self-sufficiency at Tuskegee. He encouraged students to grow their own food, maintain gardens, and learn preservation techniques. These practices not only fed the campus, but provided valuable lessons in resourcefulness. Carver believed that independence began with understanding the land. By nurturing it, students learned to nurture themselves. This philosophy shaped Tuskegee's agricultural culture, instilling confidence that would travel with graduates into their home communities. Beyond farming, Carver began exploring the nutritional value of foods grown from restorative crops. He researched the vitamins and minerals found in peanuts, sweet potatoes, and pecans, recognizing their potential to address malnutrition. Carver developed recipes that used these ingredients creatively, making them both practical and appealing. His cooking demonstrations quickly became popular events, drawing crowds who were eager to learn how nutritious meals could be prepared from affordable local crops. These lessons helped families improve their health in tangible ways. Carver's work often extended late into the night. Students passing by the laboratory windows would see him bent over samples, taking notes or sketching a new idea. His small, neatly arranged workspace was a world of possibility: jars of pigments, trays of seedlings, and sheets of paper filled with experiments. Carver moved through the lab with quiet purpose, guided by the same curiosity that had shaped him since childhood. He often said he felt led by a gentle, inner voice, one that urged him to keep exploring. Despite his growing responsibilities, Carver remained deeply connected to the natural world. He rose early to walk through the fields, observing the colors and shapes of the plants as the sun lifted over the horizon. These peaceful morning rituals renewed him. They reminded him that all of his work, every experiment, every lecture, every bulletin, originated from the earth's simple gifts. The land continued to teach him, offering wisdom that guided his scientific and spiritual life alike. By the end of this period, Carver had firmly established himself not only as a scientist, but as a visionary guide for Southern agriculture. His steady influence helped revive countless farms and improve the lives of families across the region. He had begun to transform a landscape once marked by exhaustion into one of possibility. And though much work remained, Carver embraced the challenges ahead with the same gentle dedication that had defined every step of his journey. Carver's work reached a new level of recognition when the value of peanuts began spreading beyond the fields of Alabama. Farmers across the South were discovering that this humble crop could restore their soil and support their families in ways cotton never could. Carver celebrated their successes quietly, grateful that his teachings were taking root. He believed deeply that the peanut's potential had only begun to unfold. The more he studied it, the more possibilities he saw for its use in homes, farms, and small businesses. As demand for peanuts increased, Carver expanded his experiments to explore new methods of processing. He extracted oils, created powdered forms, and tested the effects of roasting, boiling, and fermenting. Each experiment revealed unique qualities, textures, aromas, and chemical properties that sparked new ideas. Carver recorded every observation with care, knowing even small details could unlock larger discoveries. His laboratory became a place of gentle innovation, filled with jars, samples, and handwritten notes that reflected his patient spirit. Carver believed that people needed practical, accessible ways to benefit from what they grew. He spent hours creating recipes that households could easily prepare. Experimenting with breads, soups, oils, and spreads made from peanuts, he tested each one thoughtfully, seeking both flavor and nourishment. These recipes became a staple in his educational bulletins, offering families affordable alternatives during difficult economic times. Carver took pride in knowing his work could place wholesome food on tables across the South. As Carver refined his techniques, news of his innovations began to reach beyond Alabama. Agricultural organizations, business leaders, and government officials grew curious about the scientist quietly transforming Southern farming. Invitations arrived requesting demonstrations, lectures, and consultations. Though Carver remained humble, he accepted these requests with gratitude. He understood that sharing knowledge was essential to improving lives. Each presentation became an opportunity to inspire hope in communities still recovering from hardship. Tuskegee students also witnessed the growing recognition of Carver's work. They admired his calm confidence and the gentle enthusiasm with which he approached each discovery. Carver made sure they were part of the process, inviting them into the laboratory and explaining his methods step by step. He treated them like partners in exploration rather than passive learners. This approach strengthened their understanding of science and instilled a deep sense of pride in their role as future agricultural leaders. Carver's commitment to service remained at the heart of everything he did. He continued visiting rural communities with the Jessup wagon, teaching families how to improve soil, prepare nutritious meals, and make simple household goods. These trips were often long and tiring, yet Carver approached them with quiet joy. He treasured the opportunity to speak directly with farmers, listen to their concerns, and offer solutions shaped by compassion. His presence brought comfort, and his teachings offered possibility. During this period, Carver also deepened his relationships with researchers across the country. He exchanged letters with scientists who admired his unconventional approach to problem solving. They appreciated the way he blended intuition, observation, and scientific method. Many remarked that Carver's work carried a warmth and humanity often missing in laboratory research. Carver felt honored by these connections, yet he never allowed praise to distract him. His focus remained on the people who needed him most. Carver's days followed a gentle rhythm. Early walks through the fields, hours of research in the laboratory, meetings with students, and writing long into the night. This routine brought him peace. He believed that consistency allowed him to listen more closely to nature's quiet messages. Each day offered new lessons, and Carver approached them with gratitude. Even the smallest observation, a shift in soil moisture, a change in plant color, felt meaningful. His work unfolded like a soft conversation with the earth. As his experiments advanced, Carver considered broader questions about the future of Southern agriculture. He wondered how communities could become more resilient, how they could protect their land, and how they could build economies rooted in diversity rather than dependency. These reflections guided his research, shaping the direction of his bulletins and lectures. Carver believed that science should empower people, helping them live fuller, healthier lives. This belief fueled his work and strengthened his resolve. By the end of this stage, the peanut had become more than a crop. It had become a symbol of renewal. Carver's discoveries inspired farmers, students, and leaders alike, showing how a single plant could transform entire regions. And though he had achieved much, Carver felt a gentle certainty that more possibilities remained hidden. He prepared to continue exploring with the same curiosity and patience that had guided him since childhood. Carver's growing collection of peanut-based discoveries soon drew attention from lawmakers in Washington, D.C. They learned of a quiet scientist in Alabama who had transformed a simple crop into an engine of economic hope for thousands of farmers. Though Carver had never sought national recognition, he understood the importance of sharing his work on a larger stage. When he received an invitation to speak before Congress, he accepted with humility, feeling a gentle responsibility to represent the people who depended on these crops for their livelihood. Preparing for the trip, Carver gathered samples of his peanut products, oils, dyes, food items, and household essentials. Each jar reflected countless hours of patient experimentation. He selected them not for spectacle, but for practicality, believing that useful products spoke more clearly than grand speeches. Carver felt calm as he prepared. He didn't intend to impress lawmakers with scientific terms. He simply wanted to show them what the land could offer when treated with care. His quiet confidence grew from this purpose alone. When Carver arrived in Washington, he found himself surrounded by bustling corridors and hurried conversations. Yet, even in this unfamiliar environment, his gentle presence stood out. Lawmakers and staff members greeted him with curiosity, intrigued by the man who carried jars of peanut creations rather than papers and briefcases. Carver remained composed, moving with the same slow, thoughtful grace that defined his days at Tuskegee. He knew that the truth of his work lay in its simplicity. Inside the hearing room, Carver felt the weight of expectation. Peanut growers needed support, and the South depended on new economic paths. When he began speaking, his voice was soft but steady. He explained the science behind soil regeneration, the value of crop diversification, and the potential contained in peanuts. Then, with gentle enthusiasm, he demonstrated dozens of products derived from the crop. The room fell silent as lawmakers realized the breadth of his inventions. His calm sincerity captured their attention more effectively than any forceful speech could. Carver's demonstration lasted far longer than planned. Lawmakers continued asking questions, fascinated by the possibilities he presented. They requested additional explanations, product samples, and clarifications about how these discoveries could boost local economies. Carver responded patiently, addressing each inquiry with clarity. He spoke not as a politician, but as a teacher, guiding the audience through a vision of agricultural renewal. His gentle approach softened the atmosphere, turning skepticism into genuine interest. The congressional hearing marked a turning point for Carver's work. News of his presentation spread across the country, bringing nationwide recognition to his efforts. Journalists wrote admiring articles describing him as a wizard of the peanut. Though Carver himself disliked the title, he preferred to be seen simply as a servant of the land. Yet the attention helped farmers tremendously. The peanut industry grew rapidly, offering families a new source of income and stability. Carver took quiet satisfaction in knowing his work had opened this path. Despite the praise, Carver returned to Tuskegee with the same humility he had always carried. Students greeted him with pride, but he gently redirected their excitement toward the work ahead. He reminded them that success belonged to the community, not to an individual. Carver resumed his routine without ceremony, returning to his laboratory and picking up his experiments exactly where he had left them. Fame never distracted him. He remained the same soft-spoken scientist who found joy in simple discoveries. Carver's congressional testimony also strengthened his belief that education needed to empower people beyond the classroom. He continued expanding his bulletins and community programs, offering families the tools they needed to grow their own prosperity. He taught them to make paint, ink, flour, and soap from everyday ingredients. He encouraged them to treat agriculture as a partnership with the earth rather than a struggle. These efforts helped restore dignity to communities long burdened by poverty and the legacy of depleted soil. As more people adopted Carver's methods, he began seeing signs of transformation across the rural South. Fields once drained of life now produced thriving crops. Families who had struggled for generations felt hopeful for the first time. Children grew up healthier, nourished by the foods Carver introduced. Communities gained confidence, recognizing that their land held more potential than they had ever realized. Carver watched these changes with gratitude, knowing his life's work was bearing fruit in ways he never imagined. By the end of this chapter, Carver's influence had spread far beyond Tuskegee. His gentle wisdom guided farmers, educators, and lawmakers across the nation. Yet he remained rooted in the same principles that shaped his childhood. The belief that knowledge must serve others, that the land deserves respect, and that even the smallest seed holds possibility. With these truths in his heart, Carver prepared to continue his work, unaware that his greatest contributions were still yet to come. As Carver entered the next phase of his work at Tuskegee, he began focusing on the deeper connection between agriculture and community well-being. He believed that healing the land could heal people too, creating a foundation for stability and dignity. This idea guided every lesson he taught and every bulletin he published. Carver saw agriculture not only as a science, but as a gentle way to rebuild lives affected by poverty and limited opportunity. His mission became as much about nurturing human potential as restoring soil. Carver knew that true transformation required more than encouraging farmers to plant new crops. Generations of families had lived under the weight of depleted fields, economic uncertainty, and limited education. He felt a quiet responsibility to address these challenges with compassion. Carver approached every community with humility, listening to their stories before offering guidance. He believed solutions worked best when shaped around people's lived experiences. This approach allowed him to build trust, turning skepticism into hope. One of Carver's priorities during this period was nutritional education. Many families struggled with diets limited by poverty and tradition. Carver recognized that the foods grown from restorative crops, peanuts, sweet potatoes, and leafy greens, could support health in ways many households had never known. He began teaching simple cooking techniques that enhanced flavor while preserving nutrients. These lessons brought joy to families who discovered they could create nourishing meals from inexpensive, homegrown ingredients. At Tuskegee, Carver expanded his work into what he called Practical Domestics, a series of lessons designed to help families improve their daily lives. He taught methods for food preservation, safe storage, and effective preparation. Carver developed homemade products, vinegars, dyes, flours, and cleaning agents that reduced reliance on expensive store-bought goods. Each instruction was crafted with gentle clarity. Carver wanted every family, regardless of resources, to feel empowered and capable of creating comfort in their homes. Carver's classroom became a place of encouragement and discovery. Students practiced identifying plant species, diagnosing soil conditions, and preparing simple remedies from natural ingredients. Carver encouraged them to view every challenge with curiosity rather than frustration. He often reminded them that nature provided solutions generously, as long as one observed carefully. This philosophy shaped the way his students approached both science and life, teaching them resilience through patience. Carver also continued his long walks through fields and forests, collecting plants for study and preserving specimens in his meticulously organized herbarium. Each sample told a story: where it grew, how it survived, what it offered to the world. Carver treated these specimens with reverence, believing nature expressed its wisdom through detail. His students often joined him on these walks, learning to see the world with the same gentle wonder that guided his own steps. These shared moments became cherished memories. As Carver's reputation spread across the United States, he began receiving invitations to speak far beyond Alabama. Universities, agricultural groups, and civic organizations wanted to hear the gentle scientist who had transformed Southern farming with patience and imagination. Though Carver preferred the quiet rhythm of his laboratory and the fields surrounding Tuskegee, he understood the importance of sharing his message. Traveling allowed him to reach new communities and inspire people who had never before considered the power of soil, plants, and sustainable living. During these trips, Carver carried only a small suitcase and a collection of notes, sketches, and sample products. He never traveled with extravagance, believing simplicity kept him grounded. When he spoke to audiences, his voice remained soft, yet his words carried unmistakable sincerity. He explained complex agricultural concepts as if sharing a calm conversation, not delivering a lecture. Listeners often remark that Carver made them feel as though the land itself were speaking through him, patient, nurturing, and full of quiet wisdom. Carver's message resonated deeply with people living through difficult economic times. Many families faced depleted soil, limited resources, and the lingering effects of harsh agricultural practices. Carver's teachings offered a gentle alternative rooted in self-sufficiency and respect for nature. He encouraged communities to diversify their crops, preserve food thoughtfully, and make everyday goods from simple materials. These ideas felt approachable, especially to those accustomed to surviving with limited means. Carver gave them tools for both resilience and renewal. During one of his most memorable speaking tours, Carver traveled to the Midwest to address a gathering of agricultural researchers. These were scientists who had spent their careers analyzing soil and studying plant biology. Yet Carver's approach differed from theirs. He blended science with intuition, data with compassion, and research with humility. His presentation surprised many in the audience. They had expected rigid technical explanations, but instead they encountered a scientist who viewed the land as a living partner. His calm perspective invited them to reconsider their own work. Carver's growing influence also reached into schools across the country. Teachers wrote to him, requesting simple experiments and lessons they could use in their classrooms. He responded with care, preparing step-by-step activities that introduced children to the wonder of plants and soil. Carver believed that nurturing curiosity in young minds could shape the future of agriculture, science, and community resilience. His lessons encouraged students to pay attention to the beauty and complexity of the natural world around them. Despite the expanding demands on his time, Carver continued to prioritize his responsibilities at Tuskegee. He returned from each trip with renewed commitment to his students. Carver believed that teaching required presence, patience, and genuine care. He kept his classroom open to questions, discussions, and moments of shared discovery. His students valued the quiet consistency he brought to their education. They felt supported, not pressured, and learned to approach their work with the same gentle steadiness he modeled. Many of Carver's public lectures included demonstrations of his peanut and sweet potato products. He presented dyes, oils, paints, flowers, and medicinal preparations, explaining how each one could fit into daily life. Audiences were fascinated by the variety, often gasping in surprise when he revealed yet another unexpected use. Carver saw these demonstrations not as performances, but as practical tools for empowerment. Each product represented a possibility, a way for families to create value from their own land. As Carver traveled, he noticed that people responded not only to his knowledge, but to his character. They were drawn to his humility, his kindness, and his gentle sense of humor. He answered even the simplest questions with respect, never making others feel inadequate. This demeanor made his teachings approachable. Many people left his lectures believing they too could become caretakers of their land and communities. Carver found joy in this shift, knowing confidence could change a person's entire outlook. Yet Carver remained aware that not all audiences were ready to embrace his message. In some places, skepticism lingered. Old farming traditions were deeply ingrained, and economic pressures made change seem risky. Carver approached these challenges with patience. He never argued or demanded. Instead, he shared stories, offered small suggestions, and allowed people to decide for themselves. Over time, many came to see the wisdom in his gentle approach. His consistency won them over more effectively than force ever could. By the end of this period, Carver's influence had grown far beyond the expectations he once held. He had become a national figure, not through ambition, but through service. His work touched farmers, teachers, students, and scientists across the country. Carver traveled with the same calm spirit he brought to the fields of Tuskegee, spreading knowledge like seeds, carried on a quiet wind. He sensed that his mission was still unfolding, and he prepared to continue with humility and an open heart. As Carver continued his travels, he became increasingly aware of the profound hunger for practical guidance across the nation. Families, schools, and agricultural groups all sought simple, reliable methods to navigate difficult economic conditions. Carver responded with compassion, tailoring his lectures to the needs of each audience. He shared recipes, soil treatments, crop plans, and household remedies, always emphasizing that even the smallest change could bring meaningful improvement. His calm voice offered comfort during uncertain times, reminding people that nature remained a steady companion. During these trips, Carver often received letters from students and farmers who had implemented his teachings. Many described improvements in their fields and newfound confidence in their ability to care for the land. These messages touched Carver deeply. He read each one slowly, appreciating the progress reflected in every word. Carver saw these successes not as his own achievements, but as victories shared with the communities he served. Their stories reaffirmed his belief that knowledge belonged to everyone. Carver's growing schedule eventually began to stretch his energy thin. The constant travel, teaching, and correspondence demanded long hours and careful balance. Yet Carver never allowed exhaustion to cloud his dedication. He approached each engagement with the same gentle intention to offer understanding, not to impress. When he returned to Tuskegee after each journey, he slipped seamlessly back into his familiar routines. His students often found him in the laboratory the next morning, already immersed in new experiments. As his national reputation expanded, Carver developed friendships with scientists, educators, and community leaders who admired his approach. These relationships led to new collaborations, enhancing his ability to share his knowledge. Carver valued these connections not for prestige, but for the shared commitment to improving lives. He often exchanged letters filled with sketches, observations, and reflections on nature's rhythms. These correspondences became extensions of his work, allowing him to teach even when far from Tuskegee. Carver also found himself invited to speak at gatherings focused on racial uplift and social progress. Though he avoided political confrontation, he understood the importance of these movements. Carver believed wholeheartedly that education, self-sufficiency, and dignified work could strengthen entire communities. In these settings, he shared lessons on agriculture, nutrition, and resourcefulness, practical tools that empowered people facing systemic challenges. His gentle guidance provided hope without accusation, offering pathways forward built on skill and resilience. As he traveled through cities and rural towns, Carver remained deeply connected to the natural world. He often collected plant specimens during his journeys, storing them carefully in small envelopes he kept in his coat. Each specimen became part of his herbarium, expanding his understanding of plant life across different regions. These collections were more than scientific samples. They were memories of the landscapes he encountered. Carver believed that every place had something to teach, and he carried those lessons home with him. His simple manner often surprised people who expected a nationally recognized scientist to travel with formality. Carver preferred modest accommodations, simple meals, and quiet reflection. He avoided luxury, believing it clouded one's connection to purpose. This simplicity allowed him to stay grounded, even as his fame grew. Many hosts remarked that Carver's humility left a deeper impression than any demonstration or lecture. His presence reminded them that greatness need not be loud to be powerful. During one memorable visit to a northern university, Carver spent hours answering students' questions long after his lecture had ended. They crowded around him with curiosity about soil chemistry, crop diversity, and plant biology. Carver responded with patience, encouraging their interest with gentle enthusiasm. He believed deeply in nurturing curiosity in young minds. These conversations often became some of his most cherished memories, reinforcing his belief that education was an act of shared discovery. The more Carver traveled, the more he recognized the limitations of traditional farming methods across many regions. He encouraged communities to treat their soil as a living partner rather than an exhaustible resource. Carver spoke often about nature's balance, urging people to rotate crops, compost thoughtfully, and listen to the land's subtle messages. His teachings helped reshape agricultural thinking, offering a more sustainable path forward. Audiences found comfort in the simplicity and wisdom of his approach. By the end of this period, Carver had become not just a Southern figure, but a national voice for practical science and gentle renewal. His travels allowed him to scatter seeds of knowledge across the country, each one taking root in its own way. Carver returned to Tuskegee knowing his work had touched countless lives, yet he continued with the same humility that had guided him since childhood. He believed his mission was still unfolding, and he prepared for the next chapter with quiet resolve. As Carver entered a new stage of his life, his work increasingly touched the realm of inspiration rather than instruction. People across the country began to view him not only as a scientist, but as a symbol of perseverance, humility, and creative resilience. Carver never sought such attention, yet he understood the responsibility it carried. He continued speaking softly about nature's wisdom, urging others to approach life with curiosity and gratitude. His influence now extended beyond agriculture, quietly shaping the nation's understanding of potential and purpose. Carver's gentle philosophy drew the admiration of prominent leaders who sought his counsel during difficult times. He shared his insights humbly, often framing solutions through simple metaphors drawn from nature. Carver believed that lessons learned from plants and soil could guide human behavior with remarkable clarity. His ability to translate scientific principles into moral wisdom made him a trusted voice. Many left their conversations with him feeling renewed, as though they had received a message not just of knowledge, but of peace. During this period, Carver expanded his research into natural pigments and artistic materials. He created paints from native clays and dyes from plant roots, revealing the hidden colors of the southern landscape. Carver saw art as another form of communication, one that could inspire creativity and connect people to the natural world. His small studio filled with sketches, painted cards, and experiments that blended science with beauty. Students who visited felt a quiet sense of wonder, seeing their teacher as both scientist and artist. Carver's artistic pursuits also became a teaching tool. He showed students how to extract pigments from leaves, nuts, and minerals, encouraging them to observe color variations with patience. These lessons helped them appreciate nature's subtleties. Carver believed that art nurtured observation, a skill essential for scientific inquiry. Many students found that his artistic guidance sharpened their awareness, allowing them to notice details they previously overlooked. Carver's gentle blend of creativity and science enriched their understanding of both disciplines. As Carver's reputation grew, so did the number of people who visited Tuskegee hoping to meet him. Farmers, teachers, children, researchers, and journalists arrived, seeking advice or insight. Carver greeted each visitor with kindness, offering his time without hesitation. His office often filled with laughter, questions, and quiet conversations. Carver believed that every interaction held value. He saw each person as a potential seed, someone who might carry forward a piece of knowledge that could bloom in unexpected ways. Despite the attention, Carver remained deeply connected to the daily life of the Institute. He continued his early morning walks, often stopping to observe dew, collecting on leaves, or to sketch a flower before returning to his laboratory. These moments grounded him. They reminded him that nature's rhythms remained unchanged, despite human pressures and expectations. Carver found comfort in the constancy of the natural world and carried that calm into every aspect of his work. Carver also began writing more about his personal beliefs, especially the spiritual connection he felt with nature. He described the natural world as a quiet teacher, one that revealed its truths gently and without pride. Carver believed that creativity flowed from a higher source, guiding his discoveries and artistic expressions. While he spoke of these beliefs with humility, many found solace in his words. His reflections helped people navigate their own challenges with a deeper sense of peace and purpose. During this time, Carver developed new bulletins focused on the emotional and spiritual value of connecting with the land. He encouraged readers to garden not only for food but for reflection. He believed tending plants fostered patience, gratitude, and resilience, qualities essential for navigating life's uncertainties. His gentle writing style made these teachings accessible to people of all ages and backgrounds. Many readers viewed these bulletins as letters of encouragement rather than technical guides. Carver's growing prominence brought invitations from national organizations seeking his perspective on science education. He participated in discussions about how to make learning more practical, inclusive, and connected to everyday life. Carver advocated for teaching methods that encouraged curiosity rather than memorization. He believed students learned best when they felt a genuine connection to the subject. His contributions influenced educational programs across the country, planting seeds of reform that would blossom in later generations. By the end of this period, Carver had become both a teacher and a symbol, someone whose gentle wisdom transcended the boundaries of his laboratory. His work inspired scientists, artists, educators, and everyday families alike. Carver felt grateful for the opportunities to serve, yet he remained unchanged in his heart. He continued walking the same paths, teaching the same lessons, and listening to the land with the same reverence. His journey had brought him far, but his spirit remained rooted in humility and purpose. As Carver's voice reached increasingly diverse audiences, he found himself speaking not only about agriculture, but about hope. Many communities facing economic strain sought reassurance that their efforts mattered. Carver answered their concerns with gentle honesty. He explained that progress often unfolded quietly, like the growth of a seed beneath the soil. His simple metaphors helped people understand that slow improvement was still improvement. Each conversation became a moment of calm guidance, strengthening the resilience of those who listened. Carver's growing influence led to new invitations from churches, civic clubs, and charitable organizations. These gatherings were intimate and often emotional. People shared their fears, challenges, and dreams, looking to Carver for direction. He listened with patience before offering advice rooted in compassion rather than judgment. Carver believed that encouragement could restore strength in ways facts alone could not. His words carried a gentleness that left people feeling supported rather than instructed. This grace became one of his most enduring gifts. During this time, Carver continued refining his experiments with natural materials. He developed new pigments, adhesives, and food products using simple plant sources. These inventions were not intended for industry alone. They were meant to show people how to transform what they had into something useful. Carver's hands-on approach inspired students and visitors alike. He moved through his laboratory with calm concentration, treating each discovery as a small blessing. His work reminded others that creativity often flourished in humble places. Carver's relationship with the land deepened as he explored more regions through his travels. He collected samples of unfamiliar plants, noting their textures, scents, and potential uses. Each new environment felt like a conversation with an old friend speaking in a different dialect. Carver honored these encounters by preserving specimens and adding them to his expanding herbarium. Through these collections, he built a living record of the natural beauty across the country. He believed this diversity reflected the richness of life itself. His teachings increasingly addressed the emotional burdens carried by communities facing hardship. Carver spoke about the importance of gratitude, how recognizing small blessings could steady the heart during difficult times. He encouraged people to find comfort in simple acts like tending a garden, watching sunrise over a field, or preparing a nourishing meal. These small practices, he explained, connected people to the world around them and fostered a sense of peace. Audiences often left his talks feeling lighter, as though they had rediscovered an old truth. Carver also built deeper relationships with leaders in education and philanthropy. These individuals admired his gentle guidance and his unwavering commitment to service. They often sought his perspective on how to uplift communities in sustainable ways. Carver emphasized solutions rooted in practical knowledge, gardening, nutrition, soil care, and creative resourcefulness. He believed these fundamentals provided stability that could support larger progress. His approach felt grounded in human, inspiring cooperation across social and economic divides. Even as admiration for Carver grew, he remained anchored in simplicity. He returned home from each trip, eager to resume his daily rituals at Tuskegee. Students found comfort in his predictability, the early morning walks, the quiet laboratory hours, and the calming pace of his lectures. Carver believed that consistency nurtured clarity. He carried this belief into every aspect of his life, trusting that steadiness allowed him to listen more closely to nature's lessons. Carver's writings during this period became more reflective. He wrote about the importance of maintaining patience during times of uncertainty. He explained that nature revealed its wisdom slowly, and that humans should follow its example. These ideas resonated with readers facing economic difficulty or personal struggle. Carver's words helped them feel less alone. His calm philosophy, rooted in observation, humility, and trust in nature's rhythms, became a source of quiet strength for many. As Carver continued to speak across the country, he encountered diverse audiences with unique challenges. Yet he approached each group with the same respectful curiosity. Carver believed that understanding people required listening deeply. He often said that every individual carried a story shaped by their environment, just as every plant reflected the soil in which it grew. This perspective allowed him to connect with people from vastly different backgrounds. His empathy created bridges where others saw only distance. By the end of this period, Carver had become a unifying figure during a time of widespread uncertainty. His teachings reached across social, economic, and geographic divides, offering a gentle reminder that resilience and creativity lived within everyone. Carver returned to Tuskegee feeling grateful for the opportunity to serve so many, yet he remained focused on the quiet work still before him. His journey continued with the same steady commitment that had guided him from the beginning, a commitment rooted in humility, compassion, and a deep love for the natural world. As Carver entered the later years of his life at Tuskegee, his role shifted from pioneer to quiet elder. Students who had once relied on his instruction now sought his guidance on life's deeper questions. They approached him not only as a scientist, but as a mentor whose calm presence brought clarity. Carver welcomed these conversations with patience. He believed that wisdom should be shared freely, especially with those preparing to shape the next generation. His soft voice and steady manner helped young minds find confidence in their paths. Carver's work in the laboratory continued, though his pace became more reflective. He no longer pursued discoveries with urgency, allowing ideas to unfold naturally. Each experiment became a gentle meditation, reminding him of the curiosity that had shaped his childhood. Carver often paused to observe the play of color in a pigment or the pattern of growth in a plant. These moments of stillness offered him peace. He knew that even small advances could inspire others long after he was gone. As he slowed his research, Carver dedicated more time to documenting his life's work. He organized notes, preserved specimens, and revised bulletins so future generations could benefit from his teachings. Carver believed deeply in leaving behind resources that could serve communities long after his physical presence had faded. He wrote with the same warm tone that had guided all of his communications, clear, gentle, and encouraging. His materials became a living record of a lifetime spent listening to the land. Carver also deepened his spiritual reflections during this period. He spoke often about the connection he felt between nature and a higher purpose. To him, scientific discovery was not separate from spirituality, but intertwined with it. He believed that creativity flowed from a place of quiet guidance, and he approached his work with reverent gratitude. Students and colleagues found comfort in these reflections, sensing that Carver's faith gave him a steadiness that was rare in the world of science. As visitors continued arriving at Tuskegee, many sought not advice on crops but reassurance in times of uncertainty. Carver offered them gentle perspective, encouraging them to trust the process of growth, even when progress was invisible. He compared life's challenges to soil in winter, resting quietly before a season of renewal. These metaphors resonated deeply. People left his company feeling lifted, as if they had been reminded of something simple and true. Carver's calm presence became as meaningful as his scientific achievements. During this time, Carver also strengthened his relationship with the natural spaces around Tuskegee. He often visited the same paths he had walked for decades, observing the familiar trees and plants with renewed appreciation. Their steady cycles comforted him. He saw in them a reflection of his own journey, a long life shaped by patient growth, unexpected challenges, and quiet transformation. Nature had been his companion through every season, offering lessons he carried into his work and teaching. Carver's influence continued to spread beyond the South. His writings on soil conservation, crop rotation, and community resilience reached audiences across the country. Teachers used his bulletins in classrooms, farmers relied on his techniques, and families adopted his recipes. Even those who never met him felt guided by his gentle wisdom. Carver took none of this for granted. He remained humble, grateful that people found value in his work. His satisfaction came not from praise, but from knowing he had helped others. As he aged, Carver also became more intentional about mentoring young scientists. He encouraged them to explore boldly but with compassion, reminding them that knowledge carried responsibility. Carver believed that science should uplift communities rather than separate researchers from everyday life. He urged students to remain curious, observant, and open-hearted. Many credited him with shaping not only their scientific careers, but their worldview. Carver's influence reached far beyond technical knowledge, touching their character and purpose. Carver's daily routine remained modest and steady. He ate simple meals, maintained his small living space meticulously, and spent evenings reflecting quietly by lamplight. He found comfort in these rituals. They helped him remain centered amid the growing attention around him. Carver believed that simplicity protected the mind from distraction, allowing him to stay focused on service. His life became a quiet testament to the idea that fulfillment came from contributing gently and consistently to the world. By the end of this period, Carver had settled into a role that suited him deeply. He was no longer the young scientist fighting to restore exhausted soil, nor the traveling lecturer introducing new crops across the South. He had become a gentle elder, a guiding presence whose wisdom shaped lives far beyond Tuskegee. Carver sensed that he was entering the final chapters of his journey, and he embraced this stage with gratitude. His life's work continued, unfolding softly like the seasons he had studied all his life. As Carver grew older, the world around him began to shift in ways he could both see and feel. New scientific developments were emerging, and younger researchers were bringing fresh approaches to agriculture and chemistry. Carver welcomed these changes with grace. He believed that progress required many minds working together across generations. He often reminded his students that innovation did not replace earlier work, it expanded upon it. This perspective allowed him to watch the evolution of his field with quiet pride rather than fear. Carver's reputation as a national figure drew increasing numbers of journalists to Tuskegee. They hoped to capture his story, photograph his laboratory, and share his gentle philosophy with their readers. Carver cooperated politely, though he never sought attention. He guided visitors through his workspace, showing them jars of pigments, small plant presses, and neatly labeled specimens. Many reporters were struck by the simplicity of his tools. They expected the lab of a famous scientist to be elaborate, yet Carver preferred humble materials that reflected his belief in resourcefulness. Despite the growing media interest, Carver remained focused on service. He continued writing bulletins that offered practical advice on nutrition, plant care, and creative resource use. These publications reached families across the nation, bringing comfort and stability during difficult times. Carver understood that knowledge needed to be accessible. He wrote in a warm, conversational tone that made even complex topics feel approachable. His bulletins became cherished household guides, passed from one generation to the next. Carver's commitment to helping communities extended beyond agriculture. He began offering simple lessons on financial prudence, home organization, and personal well-being. These topics stemmed from his belief that a peaceful home life strengthened a person's ability to face challenges. Carver approached each subject with compassion. He encouraged people to take small, manageable steps toward improvement. His gentle encouragement helped many individuals feel capable of navigating life's uncertainties with patience and optimism. During this phase, Carver's artistic work gained renewed attention. Visitors admired his paintings made from natural pigments, extracted from berries, roots, and clay. Each piece reflected his deep connection to the land. Carver saw art as an extension of nature, a way to honor the beauty hidden in soil and plants. He often gifted paintings to friends, students, or community members, believing that creativity should be shared freely. These gifts carried a piece of his heart and the calm he found in nature. As he aged, Carver experienced moments of physical fatigue, but his mind remained sharp and curious. He continued exploring new ideas, though he accepted that his pace had softened. Students often found him seated by a window, sketching a plant or examining a leaf held gently between his fingers. Carver believed that slowing down allowed him to notice details he once overlooked. His reflections deepened, revealing insights that shaped his final teachings. He saw aging not as decline, but as refinement. Carver's conversations with visitors often turned toward themes of purpose and gratitude. He encouraged individuals to seek meaning in small acts of kindness and creativity. He believed that fulfillment came not from recognition, but from service. Many found his words deeply comforting. They left Tuskegee feeling inspired to live with more intention and compassion. Carver's wisdom offered a sense of peace, like a quiet river guiding them gently forward. Even as his public fame grew, Carver's daily life remained rooted in simplicity. He continued living in a modest room on campus, surrounded by sketches, dried flowers, and small handmade tools. He cherished familiar routines, tending plants, organizing his specimens, and preparing teas made from herbs he collected. These rituals provided grounding. They reminded him that happiness could be found in stillness and attentiveness, not in accolades or ambition. Toward the end of this chapter in his life, Carver reflected often on the path he had traveled. He thought about the child who once wandered through forests collecting rocks and flowers, longing to understand the world. He saw that same curiosity reflected in his students, in farmers seeking guidance, and in children reading his bulletins. Carver felt grateful to have shared a life devoted to learning, service, and humility. His journey, he realized, had always been guided by a quiet purpose. By the close of this period, Carver stood as a gentle beacon of wisdom, admired by people far beyond the fields of Tuskegee. He continued his work with the same calm dedication that had carried him through every season of his life. Though age brought limitations, it also deepened his sense of peace. Carver prepared for the next steps of his journey with gratitude, knowing that his life's contributions had already begun shaping the world he would one day leave behind. As Carver approached the final years of his life, his presence at Tuskegee became more cherished than ever. Students and colleagues saw him as a guiding light, someone whose quiet wisdom offered reassurance during uncertain times. Carver moved through the campus with the same gentle rhythm he always had, greeting others with soft smiles and warm conversation. Though his steps had slowed, his spirit remained bright. He carried within him a deep sense of purpose, rooted in decades of service to the land and the people who depended on it. Carver spent much of this period reflecting on his life's journey. He looked back on the hardships of his childhood, the supportive mentors who shaped him, and the long years of experimentation that transformed Southern agriculture. These memories filled him with gratitude. Carver believed that every challenge he had faced guided him toward the work he was meant to do. He often shared these reflections with students, reminding them that growth came from perseverance and patience. His wisdom continued to touch hearts long after each conversation ended. Visitors from across the country continued to seek Carver's counsel. They traveled long distances to meet the man whose gentle teachings had improved their farms, homes, and communities. Carver welcomed them kindly, listening carefully to their concerns before offering soft-spoken advice. He believed that listening was an essential part of helping others. His calm demeanor created an atmosphere of trust and comfort. Even brief interactions left visitors feeling renewed, as though they had been reminded of something simple and beautiful. During this time, Carver also devoted significant effort to organizing his vast collection of research materials. His herbarium, filled with thousands of plant specimens, became a treasure of knowledge. Carver labeled each sample meticulously, describing its habitat, uses, and unique characteristics. He hoped that future generations would study these specimens and continue exploring the possibilities they held. His commitment to documentation reflected his belief that science was a lifelong conversation, one that extended far beyond any individual. Carver's laboratory remained a sanctuary. Even in his later years, he spent hours examining pigments, studying plants, and sketching new ideas. The quiet hum of his workspace brought him joy. Though he no longer sought major discoveries, he continued exploring with the same curiosity that had guided him since childhood. Carver often said that each day offered a new lesson if one approached it with humility. His students embraced this philosophy, seeing their mentor as a living example of lifelong learning. Carver's connection to nature remained central to his daily routine. He took slow morning walks through the grounds, pausing to notice the shifting light, the changing leaves, and the gentle rustling of trees. These walks offered him both peace and inspiration. He believed the natural world reflected truths about life, patterns of resilience, renewal, and quiet strength. Carver shared these insights with those who walked beside him, leaving them with reflections that lingered long after the conversation ended. As age began affecting his physical strength, Carver accepted help from students and colleagues, with humility. He understood that allowing others to serve was also a form of teaching. His graciousness in accepting support inspired those around him. They saw that vulnerability did not diminish one's dignity. Instead, it revealed resilience of spirit. Carver's gentle acceptance of life's changes taught his students about compassion, patience, and the beauty of interdependence. Carver continued speaking publicly when invited, though he chose engagements carefully. His talks focused less on technical innovations and more on the values that guided his life: gratitude, curiosity, and service. Audiences listened with reverence. They sensed the depth of Carver's experience in every soft-spoken word. His reflections resonated far beyond scientific circles, touching people who sought meaning during difficult times. These talks became a form of quiet legacy building, shaping future generations with kindness rather than grand declarations. During this period, Carver developed stronger friendships with colleagues who had worked alongside him for years. They shared meals, memories, and conversations that brought comfort to Carver's later days. He cherished these relationships deeply. He believed friendship was one of life's greatest gifts, something as nourishing as sunlight or rain. His gratitude for the people around him showed in every interaction. These bonds strengthened the sense of community at Tuskegee, creating a warm circle of support around him. By the end of this stage, Carver had become a symbol of gentle resilience and lifelong curiosity. His influence continued to spread quietly through his writings, teachings, and the lives of those he had touched. Though he sensed that his journey was nearing its close, Carver felt no fear. Instead, he embraced each day with gratitude, trusting that his life had unfolded exactly as it was meant to. He walked forward with peace, ready for whatever the next chapter would bring. As Carver moved through his final years, his days became a balance of reflection, teaching, and quiet companionship with the land he loved. He still rose early each morning, though his steps were slower and more deliberate. Students often joined him, matching their pace to his, grateful for the opportunity to share these peaceful walks. Carver spoke softly about the changes in the seasons, the resilience of plants, and the beauty hidden in ordinary details. These gentle conversations became treasured lessons that students carried long after graduation. Carver's role at Tuskegee increasingly centered on guiding young minds. He welcomed students into his laboratory for informal mentorship, encouraging them to pursue their passions with humility and perseverance. He reminded them that science was not only a path to knowledge, but also a way to serve humanity. Carver believed that each person had a unique contribution to make, just as each plant played its part in the ecosystem. His gentle reassurance helped students trust their abilities and approach challenges with patience. During this time, Carver continued receiving letters from across the country, messages of gratitude, questions about agriculture, and requests for guidance. He read each one carefully, often responding with handwritten notes filled with warmth and encouragement. Carver believed that communication was an extension of teaching. His words carried a grace that comforted people from all walks of life. Even those who never met him felt a personal connection through his thoughtful replies. Carver also became increasingly reflective in his writings. He documented his insights about nature, creativity, and spirituality with a calm and contemplative tone. He believed that understanding the natural world required not only study but reverence. His reflections blended scientific observation with a deep sense of gratitude. Carver hoped these writings would inspire future generations to approach the world with curiosity and kindness, recognizing that every discovery was a gift rather than an achievement. In his later years, Carver was often visited by former students who returned to thank him for the guidance he had offered throughout their lives. They shared stories of farms restored, communities uplifted, and careers shaped by his teachings. Carver listened with quiet pride, grateful that his influence had reached far beyond the walls of Tuskegee. He believed that the true measure of his work lay not in recognition, but in the lives touched by the knowledge he shared. Despite his slowing pace, Carver remained active in the Tuskegee community. He attended gatherings, shared meals with colleagues, and continued offering gentle advice to anyone who sought it. His presence brought a sense of calm to those around him. Students often described feeling centered simply by being near him. Carver's ability to inspire peace became one of his most cherished qualities, a gift as meaningful as his scientific discoveries. Carver maintained his connection to nature with unwavering devotion. He spent time nurturing plants in the gardens around Tuskegee, tending to them with the same patience he offered his students. He believed that plants taught valuable lessons about resilience and renewal. These moments in the garden brought him joy, reminding him that life's beauty was found in simplicity. Carver often paused to admire a flower or study a leaf's delicate veins, finding inspiration in their quiet complexity. His evenings were spent organizing notes, preparing small lessons, or reflecting by lamplight. Carver cherished these quiet hours. They allowed him to gather his thoughts and appreciate the path he had walked. He surrounded himself with sketches, preserved plants, and handwritten manuscripts, reminders of a lifetime devoted to learning. These objects held meaning beyond their scientific value. They represented decades of curiosity, dedication, and gentle service to others. As Carver aged, his health began to decline gradually, yet he remained serene, accepting each change with grace. He continued teaching in soft, steady tones, offering wisdom shaped by experience rather than urgency. Students often remarked that his presence felt timeless, as though he carried the calm of the natural world within him. Carver viewed aging as a natural transition, much like the turning of seasons. He embraced this period with gratitude for all he had been able to accomplish. By the end of this chapter in his life, Carver had become a beacon of quiet strength. His teachings, his kindness, and his unwavering dedication had touched thousands of lives. Though his body grew weaker, his spirit remained vibrant, rooted in humility, compassion, and an enduring love for the natural world. Carver sensed that his life's journey was nearing its final stage, yet he walked forward with peace, trusting that everything had unfolded exactly as it was meant to. As Carver entered the final chapter of his life, a quiet stillness settled around him. He continued rising early each morning, greeting the dawn with the same gentle reverence he had shown since childhood. Though his body weakened, his mind remained alert and filled with gratitude. Carver spent these early hours reflecting on the journey that had shaped him, one guided by curiosity, humility, and an unwavering connection to the natural world. Each sunrise felt like a soft reminder of the beauty he had spent a lifetime studying. Carver's days became slower, yet he continued dedicating time to his laboratory. He moved carefully among the familiar jars, tools, and specimens that had accompanied him through decades of discovery. Students often found him examining a leaf or pigment sample with the same wonder he had expressed in his youth. Carver believed that fascination should never fade with age. He considered every day an opportunity to learn something new, no matter how small. This lifelong curiosity remained one of his defining qualities. Visitors continued to arrive at Tuskegee to meet him, even in his later years. They came seeking advice, inspiration, or simply a moment in the presence of someone who had given so much to the world. Carver welcomed them with warmth. His conversations were gentle and reflective, often filled with stories from his past. He believed that sharing memories was a way of passing on wisdom. Many visitors left feeling encouraged, as though Carver had offered them not only guidance, but quiet reassurance. Carver devoted considerable time to organizing his papers, specimens, and bulletins. He wanted future generations to understand the principles that had guided his work: respect for the land, compassion for others, and belief in the power of humble discoveries. He arranged each notebook carefully, labeling pages with slow, deliberate handwriting. Carver viewed this task as part of his legacy. He hoped his notes would inspire young scientists to approach their work with patience and a deep appreciation for nature. During quiet afternoons, Carver often sat by a window overlooking Tuskegee's fields. He watched students walking to class, tending gardens, or carrying books across the campus. Seeing these scenes filled him with gratitude. Carver knew that Tuskegee had been more than a workplace. It had been his home. He had spent most of his life nurturing this community, teaching with kindness, and helping it grow. The sight of students thriving brought him peace, knowing the work would continue long after he was gone. Carver also found comfort in the simple act of walking through the gardens he had helped cultivate. Though his steps were slow, he paused often to observe the plants he knew so well. Each flower, leaf, and branch reminded him of the lessons nature had offered throughout his life. These walks allowed him to reflect on the interconnectedness of all things, the soil that nurtured the plants that sustained people, and the knowledge that uplifted communities. Nature had always been his teacher, and he thanked it silently in these final strolls. His evenings became times of quiet reflection. Carver sat surrounded by sketches, dried flowers, and old journals, revisiting memories that shaped his path. He thought of his childhood in Missouri, the mentors who guided him, and the students who carried his teachings into the world. Carver felt no regret. Instead, he felt profound gratitude for the opportunities he had been given. He believed that his life had been guided by a purpose larger than himself, one rooted in service and compassion. As his strength declined further, Carver accepted the changes with dignity. Students and colleagues often assisted him, accompanying him on walks or helping organize his materials. Carver welcomed their support with grace. He believed that allowing others to help was a way of teaching them kindness and responsibility. These gestures of care strengthened the bonds between Carver and the community he cherished. His presence continued to inspire them, even as he grew frailer. In his final months, Carver spoke more often about the importance of humility. He reminded students that no discovery, no matter how significant, was achieved alone. He emphasized that the land, the seasons, and the quiet guidance of nature played just as important a role as human effort. Carver saw science as a partnership with the world rather than mastery over it. His final lessons echoed this belief, encouraging others to work with compassion and gratitude in everything they pursued. On January 5, 1943, George Washington Carver passed away peacefully at Tuskegee Institute. News of his death spread across the nation, bringing both sorrow and profound reflection. People from all walks of life mourned the loss of a man whose gentle wisdom had shaped communities, revived the land, and elevated countless lives. Yet even in grief, there was a sense of gratitude. Carver's influence far outlived his physical presence. His teachings continued to guide farmers, students, and dreamers across generations. In the years that followed, Carver's legacy grew steadily. Institutions honored him with memorials, scholarships, and museums dedicated to his work. Researchers built upon his discoveries, continuing the journey he had begun. His name became synonymous with curiosity, humility, and quiet innovation. But his truest legacy lived not in awards or monuments. It lived in the soil he helped restore, the students he inspired, and the communities he empowered through knowledge and kindness. Carver's life demonstrated the extraordinary impact of gentle dedication. He transformed the world without seeking recognition, proving that greatness could unfold softly. His approach to science, rooted in observation, compassion, and gratitude, remained a timeless guide for those who hoped to serve others. Through his teachings, the land continued to flourish, and people continued to find hope in the possibilities around them. Carver's journey had ended, but his influence continued like a steady, nourishing rain. Carver's story reminds us that the world can be changed not only by bold actions, but by quiet devotion. His life teaches that curiosity is a powerful force, and that even the smallest discoveries can uplift entire communities when guided by compassion. As we reflect on his journey, we are reminded to walk gently, observe thoughtfully, and serve with kindness. Carver's legacy endures in every field restored, every student inspired, and every seed planted with hope. His life remains a testament to the quiet power of a patient heart.